Good evening. My name is Michael Randolph. I will be the presenter for this evening presentation. Tonight, we have lenders, investors, politicians, foundations and corporations, other nonprofits, community residents, developers, the faith community, and others that's part of this discussion on how to transform dysfunctional communities. This evening, we want to talk about a new school, next generation approach to neighborhood transformation. We titled this presentation, Tampa Baltimore Model, East Coast Approach to Neighborhood Transformation. Moving from distress to success. Poor planning equals gentrification. Smart planning equals transformation of residents. Leveling the playing field. Investing in people by planning smart. Connect the dots to transforming people and neighborhoods and reducing gentrification. From community building and partnership to HUD empowerment zone to promised neighborhoods. In 1993, Baltimore became the focus of the nation's effort to find a solution to end the war on poverty. In that year, community building and partnership was created and was marketed as the nation's best hope. This was a partnership between the enterprise community partners and the mayor of Baltimore, Kirk Smoke. It was the first broad-based, comprehensive renovation of an entire neighborhood. It was labeled the 90s test tube baby, and experts from around the country and the world came to learn and advise, including Ivy League universities. This initiative resulted in the development of what is now known as the Federal Empowerment Zone, which was the first and only government initiative using a comprehensive and holistic community model. Lessons learned from this initiative and research on best practices from around the country have led to the groundwork for the West Tampa Community Initiative. Lessons learned from this initiative and research on best practices from around the nation led to the foundation for the West Tampa Resident-Driven Community Comprehensive Initiative. The model coming out of that experience include the following. First, respond to the problem using a systematic, programmatic, and strategic model that provides community with the tools to rebuild their community. It is a bottom-up approach that is resident-driven and result-oriented. It is all-inclusive in that it includes not only ideas from the Green Party, Democrats, libertarian, and politicians and Republicans, but also other ideas. It is both a comprehensive and holistic. It is both comprehensive and holistic in scope, and it connects the dots. Our model is based on a generational approach that tailor and surgically focus on Generation X, Y, Z, and baby boomers. What do we know? Each of these generations have a particular characteristic about them. Hence, every strategy has to fit that generation. What we do know, baby boomers are now in the top level of crime, committing crime, as is same as Generation X. Like any community that is dysfunctional and poverty-stricken, the West Tampa community mirrors the characteristic of a lot of poor neighborhoods. In fact, you can compare West Tampa to Baltimore City in a lot of ways. Based on lessons learned from the Baltimore experience. In 2005, 2 years after coming to West Tampa and working with the West Tampa community and putting together the model that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, the West Tampa took the spotlight. When we presented the West Tampa strategy to the community that consists of national leaders, developers, investors, community residents, it took West Tampa by surprise. Again, the model was based on the experience in Baltimore by way of community building and partnership and the federal empowerment zone. What we did with those lessons is to refine those lessons and see if the Baltimore experience could be applied to West Tampa. And we killed it. The West Tampa Model Community Comprehensive Initiative. As you see, the scope of the model was holistic, comprehensive, and integrated. The method used for this initiative is a community mapping asset building strategy that synthesizes 3 community disciplines: neighborhood planning, community organizing, and economic development into a single methodology for community revitalization. What is asset mapping and what is the goal? The goal of asset mapping is to create a healthy local economy characterized by the recirculation of money and a high rate of employment among residents. There are three elements that makes a community transformation doable. The first is leadership. The leadership for the West Tampa CDC include Dr. Margaret Fisher, who is the chairperson, and Joe Robinson, who is the vice chairperson. It is and through that leadership that we were able to put together the 5-year plan to transform the community. Let's talk about what does that plan look like. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Fisher and Joe Robinson, who made it possible for this plan to come into play. In addition to having a leadership that's important, that people respect and buy in to a community strategy, the other thing is having a plan in which we put together in conjunction with the community. And the third element is networking, partnership. That's a key element. All three of those elements have success written all over it. The plan. The West Tampa employs a multidimensional, comprehensive, integrated, and holistic approach to community revitalization. As you see, this is the blueprint. It starts with the community who is in control of the whole process. The community then delegates to a CDC, in this case, the West Tampa CDC, to bring together its vision. In order for the West Tampa CDC to bring about the vision, we had to put together strategic partners, including nonprofits, government, the private sector, institutions of higher learning, and others. Based on these partnerships, the strategy that came out of it, and the focus is three key components: economic, social, and physical development. As you can see, the CDC was able to partner with over 50 different entities. Most are here, but some are not, in order to put together and do a winnable proposal to change the focus of the community. Economic development, social development, and physical development are the three key legs. Economic development focuses on people related to jobs. Economic development focuses on businesses in the community. Social development deals with everything related to the person, youth, seniors, health, etc. And physical development has to do with bricks and mortar. The strategy right here is now being used in 10 different states. It's moving from a promised best practice to a best practice model. In any initiative, you must be able to show how do you fund it. Well, the West Tampa CDC, like most CDCs that are sustainable, uses what's known as a social entrepreneurship approach. That is, we focus on three key sources: earned income, charitable distributions, and public sector subsidies. In terms of input, that is, how do the money come in? As you can see, we're bringing it in through grants and social media fundraising, fees for service, development fees, consultant fee, and own and operate our own businesses. And we're going to talk about that later on in the presentation when we talk about the most recent initiative coming out of West Tampa. The other component related to input, and this is somewhat different for nonprofit, is investment into financial securities to make sure we have ongoing funding money coming in, be it stocks or bonds, etc., in order to bring in additional monies. Now, the money or revenue that comes in goes to employment service, public safety, youth program, community building, etc. The outcome includes increased employment, increased affordable housing, reduction of crime, and improved quality of life. The benefits is an increased tax base for government, city government, a reduction in requiring city services, including public safety. This reduces the burden on the local government, a reduction in risk for the lenders. When lenders see a strategy on community revitalization that reduces that risk, they become benefited. It also increases the return on investment for investors and basically a better quality of life. So these are the different benefits coming out of this particular approach to earn income. As part of this initiative, the other pieces that are being put together is the business plan, operational plan, physical management, fundraising, technology, marketing and branding plan, and partnerships and collaboratives. All this become part of the strategy to become independent and structurally sound. Next steps. Well, we want to finalize our tools for success, the theory of change, logic model, and SWOT analogy. Update the strategic and action and operational plan, 2019 to 224. Complete the business plan, meet community, focus on, have community meetings and focus group, think tanks, network partnership with other nonprofits, do surveys, and present the plan to city council, county commissioner, planning commissioner, investors, funders, and residents. The meeting today will be made into a video in which we will send to funders nationally to get the funding needed to staff and provide the operation costs necessary to be successful. The next presentation talks about an initiative that is focused on how do we both reduce crime and at the same time reduce gentrification. Hello, my name is Michael Randolph. I'll be presenting the most recent initiative in West Tampa. This initiative came into play as a result of over 2 years of community meetings and focus group to get community input as to what are the community priorities. Based on that information, the following 4 priorities have been documented. The first is gentrification. Second is crime. The third is community economic development that leads to living wages jobs and both individual and community wealth. The fourth, and this is important concern in the community, was technology. The West Tampa CDC Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Curation Initiative was our response to meeting those 4 core concerns in the community. This video that's coming up is going to express the fears throughout West Tampa, but the fears throughout most poor communities where you have residents, specifically residents who are renters, and fear being gentrified from their community. So we're hearing from the mouth of Ms. White, just to put context to why what we do is so important.
Viruses and try to understand whether those viruses.
I'm with Ms. White today, and we're going through West Tampa. As you can see,
Ross Avenue and Highland.
So what is happening in your community, Ms. White? What's going on with all these buildings coming up?
There's a lot of construction and investors have bought into this area. They're doing from a Heights Union building. They have produce markets.
Is that gentrification is taking place, and that's why we're really critical about making change in West Tampa. Just let me give you some numbers. Right now in West Tampa, that's over 60% of people in West Tampa, they actually rent.
What sets it apart?
When you look at that number right there,
Is that
the average rent, the average salary in West Tampa is $19,000. That means that person can only afford a unit for
the entire senior year,
$500 plus. Although the average unit in West Tampa is $700.
They won't be able to stay over here.
That means that 60% of the people in West Tampa won't be here in the next 4 to 5 years.
No, because they're buying out.
They buying out everything in West Tampa. This is what we call gentrification. On another note, we got a big major meeting coming up on March the 31st at the West Tampa Library to talk about the gentrification that's going on in West Tampa and how we solve this problem.
And restructure.
11th New Hampshire holds
So, Ms. White, in essence,
20 election.
and I want the people who's listening to
Would be driving
Facebook to understand this, in essence,
would see one
the friend that you know right now,
others trying
or you might not be here in 4 to 5 years.
Now that they can use strategy tactics to move you, because I've gotten up to 8 letters. I've gotten a picture of my own house 2 or 3 different times. They want to buy it as it is and such. And I said, well, where am I going? I need a place to live.
And that's going throughout West Tampa, folks. As you see, all of this construction that's going up, people are being missed out. And the area that we're talking about was the CRE area. 62% of people are African Americans.
late on Thursday. Thursday, the Iowa Democratic Party released the
So it's important that you come out and be part
judge narrowly bested
of these meetings and the strategy. We put together a 5-year plan to talk about how can we begin to raise people out of their current situation so they can live in the West Tampa community. How do we build that skill set to make sure people are not gentrified out of the community? Anything else, Ms. White?
Right again.
Yes, I want to take you now on Ross Avenue. Yes, I want to take you now on Ross Avenue,
Okay.
where I live. So these are the houses and the inhabitants of people that are living there who have been personally harassed. Because I think when I started to get all of these letters and pictures of the house, I guess they went on Facebook or someplace and found pictures of the places because they've been taking pictures forever of all this area.
And this is going on in West Tampa as we speak.
Yes, it
Let's
is.
start with you.
Our task from the community was to create a location-based economic driver for West Tampa. This is a national approach to reducing gentrification and increasing public safety. What does success look like? Well, within the next 5 years, we plan to work with 50 to 70 new businesses, resident-owned businesses, that's going to create between 75 to 100 local jobs. We plan to provide technical support to 50 to 60 businesses, and between 200 and 300 residents will benefit from technology training. Our Business Incubator Center will serve 40 to 50 businesses. 60 to 100 low-income young adults will be connected to careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. From 100 to 350, low-income residents will move from a consumer mentality to an investor mentality. What are our key goals? Well, first, we want to reduce gentrification by improving the workforce. That is, we want to increase the earning potential of residents by improving their skill sets. Next, we want to enhance public safety using an economic development approach that deters crime by creating opportunity that remove barriers and increase hope. We want to increase opportunity for resident-owned business. In other words, building wealth in poor communities. We want to increase the community understanding of investment. That is by moving them from a street mindset to a Wall Street mindset. Investment, starting at age 9. The other goal is to increase community wealth. And this one is one of the key. Improve technology opportunities for residents. Increase earned income and narrow the digital divide. Without technology, without an understanding of how to use it in such a way to transform communities, there is a disconnect, and that's why this focus on technology and the other things that we talked about are so important based on what we got from the community. Okay, let's move to the next section. So, how do we become financially self-sufficient? Earn income. Below are the 6 revenue diversification strategies that we have put into place in order to get us closer and closer towards financial dependency. Each of the programs that you want to hear about are going to be financially independent in 3 to 5 years by generating revenue through business ventures and corporate partners. And these partners include lenders, investors, tech companies, public subsidies, etc. Technology is the future. And unless we prepare those who live in, especially poor communities, prepare them in order to benefit from technology, we could lose, and we are losing, generations. Our Tech and STEM Center will do the following. The first is to provide training to residents, like in coding, mobile application, software development, web development, game application, and artificial intelligence. Again, this is coming into play as a result of partnership with the tech communities. The second part of the center is to increase the number of minorities, especially the young, to go into science, technology, engineering, and math. And the last part of this particular center is to reduce the digital divide in the community. We also think that in addition to improving a person's income, this can be used as a strategy in conjunction with our public safety strategy to give people reasons to connect into opportunities that can uplift them from the streets. Program, Performing Art and Production Center, we think goes to the core of our slogan, a hip-hop approach to reducing crime. What the research shows is that those individuals that are hanging on those street corners, if given the opportunity to create their own video, TV production, recording, entertainment center, art center, that they would choose this over the streets, hanging in the streets. Now, we call it reducing crime by enticing those at risk to lay down the weapon and take up the microphone. This is going to be one of the highest performing renters, business renters that we take on. The next program is the Business Development Center. The focus here is to create individual wealth by assisting residents in starting their own business. That's the primary focus. But the focus also is using business development as an opportunity to remove barriers from those that have criminal records, those who are dealing with little skills, those who are disabled, and others who have been locked out of making a decent wage. For that population, this gives them an opportunity by starting their own business to overcome those barriers and make a decent income. Again, we can't overemphasize increased individual wealth. While generally we're going to focus on anybody who has a barrier to getting that, making good income, we're also going to have a focus on home-based businesses because we realize there are a lot of, especially African-American single moms in the community that are either not making enough or are barely making it all together. And they don't have daycare. This focus on home-based businesses focus on females, single females that starting their own home-based business, using e-commerce and social media. There's a lot of money to be made out there, anywhere from drop shopping onto other strategies in order to create business opportunities at home. And the only thing that person would need would be the internet and a computer. And then finally, we want to make sure that we're able to seal the deal by partnering with, again, financial institutions to provide the microloans necessary to start the business. It becomes a win-win situation in economic development and job creation. Notice, for every business that we assist in getting started, there's potential of up to 3 employees being hired. So this becomes a job creation mechanism. So let's move to the next section. Program is the Business Incubator Center. This is where we focus on working with those who have either e-commerce or social media type of business to provide them with technical support. Our Community Wealth Center, which is key to what we call poor people because poor people spend poorly. This Community Wealth Center focuses on moving residents from a consumer mentality to an investor mentality, starting at age 9, to create a whole new generation of understanding wealth and generating passive income. And it's going to be an in-depth workshop on understanding investment and building foundations for good investment, and experts from around the country by way of YouTube and other mechanisms of finding information on the internet will give advice. And then finally, there's the enterprise, social enterprise, for West Tampa CDC. and that is creating 3 community businesses that's going to create 6 to 15 new jobs created within the next 3 to 5 years. This is what we call community wealth. Based on a feasibility study, we identified the 3 top gross income generating businesses potential in the West Tampa community.
Okay.
So, where do we go from here? Right now, we're talking with investors, lenders, grantors, and other financial sources from around the country that are seeking out projects that create wealth, reduce gentrification, and address the impact of systemic racism. What is unique about the riverfront or the river yard deal was that it brought together public and private sector, including the CDC of Tampa.
Lisa White was one of many families who lost her job in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. She got behind on her rent and ultimately needed to relocate. We spoke with her last year about her situation.
I literally had to reach out, for some help and everything, and I got it. I got some help.
That help came from the Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, or the CDC. The nonprofit assisted 100 families at the height of the economic crisis.
Some of these folks have been out of work for, 5 months, 6 months. So I can't even imagine
that feeling of distress.
Last year, the CDC spent about $300,000 to help people with their rent or to find a new home. That money is now all gone, but the need for rent assistance has grown. 2021 just began, and already the CDC has been inundated with dozens of calls from families seeking help with rent and utilities, even though the economy has been slowly rebounding.
There are people who are hurting who have no idea how long this is going to last, because we're not sure if people can go back to that kind of normal.
Those families may soon benefit from the $850,000 in federal aid coming into Florida through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Governor Ron DeSantis said cities with a population of 200,000 people or more will receive the money directly from the U.S. Treasury.
For us, we're really excited about this opportunity that's coming up again, because we know that there's people in need.
DeSantis said the money could be dispersed in the coming weeks. In Tampa, Dave Jordan, Spectrum, Bay News 9.
It is the public-private focus that has built strong communities. In this most recent deal, the CDC of Tampa will provide, because they are specialized in workforce development. They also have an expertise in affordable housing, home ownership class, and a host of other different services. The West Tampa CDC, we looked at this as an opportunity to bring into play some of the components of the West Tampa CDC: technology, wealth building, and job curation center that we talked about earlier. We're going to move now to identify some remarkable people that are doing some remarkable things in their community to rebuild their neighborhood.